I want to visit with my colleagues on the continuing rise of violent crime across the country. We've all heard about the unprecedented 30% spike in murders that began in the summer of 2020. It continues to this very day. Over a dozen cities set new homicide records in the year just passed. The rise in violent crimes coincides with the defund the police movement and widespread depolicing. Cutting police budgets, combined with an anti-police sentiment fostered by local elected officials, has led to violence against our police officers. So we've seen a dramatic increase in on-duty deaths in the last year. So I want to quote the Fraternal Order of Police. That organization says 63 officers were murdered and 346 officers were shot. This organization also reported ambush-style attacks on law enforcement officers spiked 115% from 2020. The FBI has reported that unprovoked attacks against officers in which the officers had no official contact with the offender prior to the attack. And I want to quote, continued to outpace all circumstances of felonious officers' deaths, end of quote. Other forms of violent crime are also up as police are forced to retreat from the streets, including carjacking. Chicago saw 1,646 carjackings compared to 603 incidents in 2019. Minneapolis police reported carjackings shot up 537%. Carjackings in New Orleans have doubled since 2019. Oakland police say carjackings increased by 85%. Washington, D.C. reports a 141% increase from last year. In Louisville, Kentucky, carjackings have increased 185%. And similar reports come out of cities across the country. So, you see, criminals are emboldened by what's going on in our country, either through not showing respect for law enforcement or from efforts to cut the budgets of police departments. Flash mobs, another sort of new lingo that is just new because of the increasing costs. Flash mobs have made large organized smash and grab robberies a way of life in many cities. You've seen this on television. Break down the doors, go in with the hammers, steal everything you can, do it within 2 or 3 minutes and get out of there. So in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Boston, Houston, Atlanta, Sacramento, Baltimore, Las Vegas, and Seattle, groups of dozens make off with hundreds of thousands in merchandise. I've requested a briefing from the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security on these organized retail crime groups. This rise in violent crime ought to be unacceptable to everybody. And I'm stepping up to find solutions to these issues. This past December, Chairman Durbin of the Judiciary Committee held a field hearing in Chicago concerning gun trafficking and violent crime. I submitted questions for witnesses concerning the crisis level of carjackings, terrible attacks on police like the murder of Chicago police officer Ella French, and failed policies in blue cities that allow violent crime to continue. I hope the Judiciary Committee will hold a full committee hearing here in Washington on the spike in violence and the challenges that law enforcement is facing, including ineffective bail policies, cumbersome restraint on police officers, and the impact of the progressive prosecutor movement. Every minority member of the committee, led by myself as ranking member, has written to the chairman to request that we do have this hearing. I look forward to working with him on setting that up. So I hope my colleagues will join me in looking for ways that we can do more to combat violent crime, from carjackings to organized retail crime, to unspeakable rise in murders and murders of police officers. Let's have a hearing where we can learn more about these trends and how we can support police officers. Let's look for ways then that we can strengthen federal criminal laws and agencies to fight this violent crime. We can't continue down this path or it's going to lead to vigilante law enforcement. I yield the floor.